Pokemon's DLC for Scarlet and Violet, the Teal mask, is finally out. But is it worth the time, money and wait? Let's find out. Scarlet and Violet was released almost a year ago, which means that it took Game Freak and the Pokemon Company nearly a whole year to release what was expected to be a highly anticipated DLC. A lot of players left Scarlet and Violet behind after a few months of its release, stating that there were too many issues regarding the game and that they were fed up with low quality effort from the company. And unfortunately, things from the company's release were evident of that statement. As people's games began crashing, new terror rates had awful glitches and bugs which affected people's games, and even save data became corrupt for some. This in turn put Game Freak and the Pokemon Company closer to the edge of the mountain they were already sitting on, and because of these issues, releases had to be pushed back. Don't forget that the DLC was supposed to be released a lot sooner, and we should have already come close to the release of the DLC's Part 2, the Indigo Disc. But now, dates for that haven't even been confirmed. The Pokemon Company and Game Freak put too much on their plates to handle at once, and it has shown and is still showing through the game. And so a lot of people were anxious about the release of the DLC, hoping that it would somewhat save the game from being a complete fail. The Teal Mask, Part 1. A very similar DLC to that of Sword and Shield's 2-part Spectacle, because it was good but very short. You see, I passed the main story in only a couple hours, and for an almost 1 year wait, I kinda felt ripped off. At a price of $35 in which you receive both parts of the DLC, I basically paid just over $17 for the Teal Mask DLC. But was paying that price worth it? Well, you have to consider that the game comes with other things aside from the main story. The main ones being quests and the overworld, which you have the ability to explore as much as the game has to offer. The main story, spoiler alert, has a lot of dialogue. Obviously because they wanted to introduce Kitakami and the whole story behind the place in just under a couple hours. But it would have been great if they could also introduce voice acting, instead of me having to purposefully smash 8 at Carmine and Kieran's arguments, because there was a lot of those. And it also would have been cool to hear the grandpa tell the awesome story behind Ogerpon and the Loyal 3, with a voiceover. I really enjoyed the art and cinematics behind that story. I thought it was a nice and neat touch, as we got to learn more about why and how things fell into place. Carmine and Kieran's relationship throughout the entire story put me on the edge of my seat, because both of them looked very evil at certain parts in the story. And at one point I thought Carmine was going to steal the Teal Mask from me and give it to a higher power. And even Kieran kinda scared me. Brother looked like he was on the verge of blowing up the town. I honestly really enjoyed that because it kept me hooked and I wanted to play more to see what would happen. Nothing really ended up happening, I just casually murked my way through everyone over and over and over again. However, I did appreciate that the battles kept getting more and more difficult every time, but it wasn't to the point where I struggled or even anticipated defeat. Although the hardest part was trying to figure out what Pokemon I should take. Aside from the difficulty, the game was glitchy and its frame rates were terrible. And at one point I thought my game literally shut down because it paused for so long. But hey, I guess that's the price we pay for wanting an overworld Pokemon game, right? Well no, because Zelda is another overworld game, which puts the entire Scarlet and Violet game to shame. Sorry, but it's the truth. It hurts me as well. But even though these thoughts existed, I'm not going to lie, I had fun playing the DLC. There was a nice charm to it, and my favourite part was the boss battle. I'm not going to spoil it just in case you want to play. But yeah, I did expect it to happen, just not as cool as it actually was. That was impressive. With the DLC came a lot of fixes, such as scrolling your Pokemon boxes with minimal lag, or the additions of new and returning TMs such as Scarlet and Toxic. But my favourite thing of all apart from the boss battle was the addition of returning Pokemon. And not only that, Jack the Professor also gave you a free egg, and inside that egg came one of the free Sinnoh starters. And with home compatibility now also available in the game, you can transfer your starters from BDSP or Legends Arceus into Scarlet and Violet. But I guess you don't really need the DLC for that. Some new Pokemon also got added, but honestly I wish there was more of course. Especially Pokemon like Blood Moon Ursaluna. Man, that thing is a beast. The map is filled with new and exciting locations. Even though a lot of the places are laggy, they are still fun to explore. But yeah, overall I would like to give the DLC a rating of, and this is my opinion, a 6 out of 10. It's not as good as Sword and Shield's DLC in my opinion, but it's still quite fun to play. and I'll be playing and exploring Kitakami for the next couple days. Let me know your rating and what you think about part 1 of the DLC down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching and peace out.